Hey Shackers, I'm here at TGS 2017 and I happen to found this lesser known game developer. In fact, it's PlayerUnknown, Brendan Green. You made your way from Korea over here to Tokyo, right?
Yeah, we came in on Thursday, and I've really been sort of amazed at the Tokyo Game Show. It's like not much I've experienced in other game shows.
Is this your first TGS?
It is, yes.
Me too.
Yeah, bit crazy, right?
Today, especially with this the public day, is insane.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to go inside yet, but I've heard it's a little crazy in there.
I fear for you because now people know who you are. They're going to want pictures and all sorts of stuff. You know, there's a lot of people in there that are taking photos. I imagine it's kind of a madhouse around you these days.
It is. I'm still somewhat unknown. I keep introducing myself as Brendan, so people don't really know who I am yet. So, that's probably going to change over the next year or so. But I love meeting the fans. You know, it's a special moment for them to meet me, and I was at the Twitch party last night, and I was taking pictures for most of the night with the players and stuff like that, and I love doing that.
You know, you guys just had a massive milestone. I think it was last week. Over 1.3 million concurrent gamers playing your game, more than Dota and CS:GO combined. How does that feel?
Surreal. Like, really, I mean, when we first started this, I thought, okay, we'll H1 is our obvious competitor, right? And then we kind of flew by H1, and then CSGO, and then we flew by them, and we kind of internally were like, Dota? And then we flew by Dota. And it's been surreal, I'm just happy people enjoy the game.
It's really becoming quite a phenomenon.
It really is. I mean, we seem to have captured lightning in a bottle, so to speak, and we're still trying to figure out exactly why people love the game as much as they do. But I set out to make a good game, and I'm just happy that people think it's a good game.
Well, let's talk about the game a little. You have some experience developing other games. You were working on the Arma platform before PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. I don't know. Do you call it PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds or PUBG at this point?
So in interviews, I'll just call it Battlegrounds. But PUBG is kind of what I refer to it online. But yeah.
Okay. So can you talk about the difference between developing on the Arma platform and PUBG or Battlegrounds is running on UE4? Can you talk about the advantages of using UE4 versus the Arma platform, or what you learned from developing the Arma games that you brought to Battlegrounds?
Yeah, so in Arma, I was a modder essentially, and all I did was essentially just write a set of rules using their platform, and it's great to start off to experiment with game modes on Arma, because you have all the assets, you have the platform there, and you just write some rules. Whereas Unreal, we have full source control over everything, so we can make changes to network code, all that kind of stuff. Whereas as a modder, you're kind of reliant on Bohemia to make changes to the game that you want, and that's sometimes happens, sometimes doesn't. But with Unreal, we've got full control, and that's great. We can do so much more in Unreal that, as a modder, I couldn't do on Arma.
That's right. And the game is still in early access. You're still iterating upon it. Our community it's 90% of people on my friends list are playing your game most of the time. We have a daily thread about someone who's excited about winning chicken dinner on our forums. What are you taking from the success in early access and putting back into the game? What are your priorities right now? What do you feel you need to do to make the game even better than it is right now?
Again, it's just we're using early access to really get feedback from real players, because this is basically a multiplayer game, that having feedback on how our weapons work, how the round feels time-wise, how the blue zones move, we're taking all this feedback from all the players to really try to, polish the game and get it into a great state when we release later this year.
So you are going to release later this year?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Well, that's awesome news. So one thing, like I said, we have thousands of people on our forum. Your game is based around 100 people in instance. One thing that's being requested, especially from our forum, we like to do these things called shack battles, where shackers get together and battle. Would a custom game, is that something that's in the realm of possibility in the game?
Well, we have custom games already for our partners, so it allows them to. It's like modding light almost, so they can mess with like the loot distribution. They can mess with the blue zone and red zone timings, frequency of care packages. You know, if you want a machete and shotgun round, you can do it. We even added a zombie mode. Some Korean streamers, when we released our initial custom game model, they were just basically allowing 4 people to have weapons and everyone else was using melee. So we took that and said this would be really cool to let players play as zombies and you know, battle against smaller teams, and it's proven to be really successful. But you know, our custom games we want to expand and sort of give our partners and people in the future kind of a way to create their own game modes without having to dive deep into like trying to mod a game. You know, it's kind of modding by UI, which is, you know, because when I first started modding, I found it quite hard to get to grips with code, and I'm not a good coder. And my code when I first started was terrible. You know, I even have the guys that work on the Arma 3 mod now. I see some of the pull requests, and you know, they're like, "Oh, this is original BR code, it's very messy," you know, that like I really didn't understand how the code worked, but I got it to work. And so I wanted to give people that, you know, want to break into modding sort of a way to do modding that doesn't require much knowledge of the game engine. They can just kind of click some buttons and create their own spin on our game mode.
So one of the biggest news events of the year in gaming was that Xbox secured you guys for an exclusive release. What kind of work are you guys doing? You know, because Xbox, you know, I'm not saying it's weak, but it's not a hardcore gamer's PC. What kind of work are you guys doing to make sure that the netcode's going to work on Xbox Live and it'll play well with a gamepad and all sorts of things like that on Xbox One?
So we just announced at was it? Oh, I can't remember which conference.
Some conference.
And we're like one of the conferences in the last that we're basically we're publishing with Microsoft now on Xbox. So
Gamescom?
It was Gamescom, I think. Yeah. You know, publishing with Microsoft, it just gives us all their resources to really help us, you know, optimize the game on Xbox and make it like the best version possible. And because, you know, they're Microsoft, they also make the other major platform we work on, Windows. So, you know, and using Unreal, which is essentially cross-platform, you know, anything that benefits the Xbox version can be brought over to the PC version to help us there. So, you know, it's you know, we have a lot of work to do, but the builds that people have been playing already, you know, they're happy with how it feels. You know, the controller feels good. We still have work to do, and that's why we're doing Xbox Game Preview, because like Early Access, we can work with real players, and we can, we can work with them to find out how the game feels for them and try to improve it based on their feedback.
You know, a game that I'm a big fan of, and they've kind of been pushing forward towards crossplay. You mentioned how cross-platform development might be easy between Windows and Xbox One. Would cross-play multiplayer be something that you would want to bring to Battlegrounds in the future with Xbox One and PC players?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think like we want to get the same experience on both versions of the game, and we think, you know, cross-play would be great. You know, it's we want to get both sets of like player base, you know, battling against each other. How we do that, though, is something we're still heavily discussing. You know, whether it's controller v controller or a mouse and keyboard v mouse and keyboard, we don't know yet. There's technical and challenges there regarding matchmaking and all that, but it is something we're looking into.
You know, and I think another thing that people are requesting on our forum, you know, it's like, it was like a long, I let people know. I was excited when you said you were going to have this interview with us. I let people know, and I said, hey, where are some questions you have? Some of our community questions were, why does it take so long to make a map? You know, are we going to get more maps soon? What do you think? Is it something with how you guys are looking at map design that is requires some iteration before you push it? Is that what's causing somewhat of a lag?
No, it's the scale. Like, you know, with most multiplayer games, they're very small maps. You know, even with games like Battlefield and you know, maybe a kilometer by kilometer or that kind of scale, we have 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers, and you know, that just takes a long time to get right. And then add to that, we need many, many play tests to make sure it fits the Battle Royale game mode, and also trying to get it to feel real. So, you know, you have to tell a story with the map, and that just takes time because there's asset production and then planning of terrain and where you want towns and cities to be. And, you know, I'd love to rush it out the door quicker, but you know, we want to give a good map when we release. And we're the new desert map we're working on, we hope to showcase that on the 1.0 release later this year. But you know, maps just take time. You know, our last map we're still improving to this day, but you know, they take time, but bear with us.
You know, and kind of going off of that, the character models. This is another thing people were asking about. Is that something before 1.0 launches that you might take another look at, or are we seeing what 1.0 will look like?
I mean, see, the thing is, like, once we reach 1.0, we're not finished. You know, like, this is it. It's, you know, we'll get the feature set we kind of said we would into 1.0, and then after, we're going to keep developing. You know, we're building this out as a game as a service rather than just like a standalone game. You know, that we want to, over the next 5-10 years, to keep adding new stuff, to keep improving, to maybe go back in a year or two's time and take the first map and just redo it and make it even better. You know, that it's this idea that, you know, we'll be kind of like almost in like permanent beta, you know, that it's like we constantly just keep improving and keep improving over the years.
Kind of going off of that, you know, you made a little bit of news the past few days talking about some competitors coming at you with you know, we're actually calling it, we straight up called it on our site, they're making a PUBG mode. So how are you going to stay ahead of these people, you know, with your development process to make sure that you're the freshest battle royale game? Because, you know, considering you guys, you may not have invented it, but you certainly have popularized it. How are you going to stay ahead of your competitors that are coming for you right now?
I mean, when they say we didn't invent it, like, I created the original Battle Royale mode back in DayZ Battle Royale 4 years ago. You know, like, from the plane flying across the island to people parachuting out, these are all concepts I came up with, you know. But, you know, for us, you know, we try not to worry about what other games are doing. I would hope that, like anyone else making a Battle Royale game, which I think is a great idea, you know, we're not trying to say we own the Battle Royale format, you know. We'd hope that they'd make their own spin on it and try their own concept of a last man standing rather than just, you know, doing, say, a carbon copy of everything we do, you know. That it's, you know, for me it's, yeah, we want to concentrate on making our game great, you know, and that's kind of, you know, I don't look at other games really, you know. It's like, let's focus on making our game a good game, and whatever the others do, the others do.
It's like in horse racing, they put blinders on them so they don't even pay attention to their competitors.
No, exactly. You know, we have a great product, and, you know, we have a fantastic team. I keep saying that I feel like the luckiest man in gaming to meet the team I have. You know, every single one of them love the game, and every single one of them, like, pour their hearts into making it. Like I say, I'm the face, but they're the heart and soul. You know, they just want to make this the best version of a Battle Royale we can.
I imagine you're pretty busy, but I'm just kind of curious. If you do have time to play other games, what games are you playing these days?
I don't play a whole lot of games, so I'm playing Battlefield 1. I really like that game. I'm like an old sniper, you know. I played Delta Force Black Hawk Down. Really, that was my first online game, and, you know, I was the one that, like, camped a kilometer away and tried to, like, land those, like, insane shots, and that's the kind of game I like to play. And the same in Battlefield. I'm the one that camps at the very last, you know, spawn point and tries to get 700-800 meter kills. You know, you miss 90% of your shots, but I just like that. I just don't get time to play. Like, I'd love to play PUBG more, but once I play one game, I want to play 10 games, and, you know, there goes productivity out the window.
Right on. You know, and, you know, clearly you're busy these days, but when you were a teenager back in the 90s, you know, Shack News started as a Quake fan site.
Oh, okay.
You know, were you influenced by FPS? Like, did you play Duke Nukem 3D? Were you a Quake fan? What were your shooter influences? Because clearly this game it's not copying anything, but it's influenced by a long history of shooters, and it's encapsulating that same competitive feel. Mm-hmm. It may not be the same kind of game, but it feels like a Quake, you know, or a Quake Live or whatever, you know. So what games were you playing that may have informed some of your design decisions?
So I've had a lot of time to kind of reflect on my history in gaming, you know, because of doing panels and stuff like that. And, you know, the first multiplayer game I played for hours, days, years was Delta Force Black Hawk Down, and I loved the fact that there was custom-made maps in that. There was real weapon ballistics, and there were custom-made modes. It wasn't just what the company provided. And then I really dug a lot of time into the America's Army series, and I loved the fact that when you died in that, you died. You know, and you had to wait till the next round. And that sort of idea that if you make a stupid decision, you die, and you have to wait. So they really heavily influenced me, you know, moving into a Battle Royale type game. You know, I kind of came back to gaming because I was a photographer and a DJ, a designer for many years, and kind of played games in my spare time. Wasn't like what I would consider a serious gamer. And then I was in Brazil and I discovered the DayZ mod, and that kind of reignited my passion for gaming, because there were no rules. You know, it was the rules of the world, and whatever you wanted to do, you could do. And that really influenced me for the Battle Royale game mode, because I wanted to give a game that we had some pretty basic rules. You know, you land, you loot, and you survive. And there was an end game in place, and, you know, it was how you played the game is up to you. And that's like, but, you know, and if you made mistakes and you died, you had to wait and start again, you know? And so I guess they were the two that really heavily influenced me.
Well, I'm kind of interested to hear that you were a DJ. What kind of music were you spinning?
House, like deep house, disco-y edits now these days. You know, I started 20-something years ago.
So vinyl.
Oh, yeah.
High five.
You know, but it's funny, like I look back now, like I bought myself a DJ SX2, which I love. Still don't use sync, still mix. But, you know, I remember going to parties, you know, in London with 2 big boxes of vinyl and like breaking my back doing it, and now I can go with literally a pen drive that holds like more music than I could ever carry, you know. But yeah, no, it's one of my like loves. I love being behind the decks. I love even just one person dancing, you know. It's sharing music with people is something I really enjoy.
Yeah, I actually produce music myself. It's something that I think performing live music is addictive.
It really is. I mean, once you get, like, as I said, like one of my more memorable occasions was like 2 guys just having a slow waltz in front of the decks, like by themselves after something kind of bad happened to them, and it was just a lovely moment. You know what I mean? I love just inspiring happiness in people.
Well, I think you're still doing that with the game, so it kind of works out.
Yeah, no, I mean, as I said, what makes me so happy is that people just enjoy the game. You know, it's like I started this to make a game I wanted to play, and the fact that other people enjoy it too makes me, very happy.
So, how are you staying grounded? The game's wildly successful at this point. You know, there have been other game developers that have kind of let it go to their head. You seem very level-headed. Are you not going on Twitter and seeing the hate, or is there not much hate coming at you, or do you not read Reddit? How are you staying so chill right now?
No, like I get told to kill myself on a daily basis, you know, that
don't do that.
Oh no, but again, like I've been on the net since like way back when I was using IRC and being an op in channels. So, you know, I'm quite used to this like anonymous hate you get, and you can't take it seriously. Like I like to picture them as spotty 14-year-olds in the mom's basement, and that helps. But really, you know, because I was involved in music and entertainment for many years, you know, I got to see the divas. I got to see these guys that kind of got too big for their boots, and I hated that. And I never want to be that person myself. You know, I want to be like, I think as well, because I'm a little bit older, like I'm 41 now, so, you know, I think that's kind of tempered me, you know, and I'm quite a simple guy, you know. I try not to let things go to my head because, as I said, I've seen other people do it and I don't like that. So I think that's what keeps me somewhat with my feet on the ground.
You know, going back to Battlegrounds real quick, people have been asking, you know, there's a lot of scopes and a lot of there's ways to look out into the distance, but there aren't any binoculars. Is that something that you've thought about adding to the game?
Oh, for sure. Like, we want to add binoculars in, but we just honestly haven't had time. You know, it's like we have such a tight deadline, and we have so much to add into the game that we really want to focus on what we're doing at the moment and get that kind of polished. As I said, you know, we're not just stopping development at 1.0. You know, we'll keep adding stuff and more assets as we go forward. So, of course, binoculars will come eventually.
I have to ask some more ridiculous questions real quick. UE4 happens to run on Nintendo Switch. Do you think Battlegrounds... I know that you have an exclusive deal with Xbox One. I'm just asking, do you think it's possible that Battlegrounds would run on a Switch? Do you have a Switch?
I don't. I am a PC gamer.
Shots fired, Nintendo.
No, listen, I mean, I don't know. Like, technically, I honestly don't know. I mean, I've seen that Doom run on a Switch, so, you know, I have to believe it's possible, but it's not something we've looked into at all.
Yeah, that makes sense. And with Xbox One X coming out later this year, I think that's the right platform for you guys to take a hardcore PC game and put it on it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, already, like, I've seen the Xbox One build run at Gamescom, and, you know, apart from the view distance being a little bit shorter, up close, the game looks pretty close to what you're playing on PC, you know, and Xbox One X will just, just increase that experience. And you know, I can't wait to see how the game looks when we finally get it polished off.
So what's coming up soon that you can talk about? Like, does the maps? I know you just released the fog. Are there other things that you're looking at, other weather effects, or other things that you're thinking about to kind of increase the the longevity of this game?
Oh, for sure. I mean, as I said, we have a map coming up in the 1.0 release. We've already announced that we have another map planned, which is based in the Adriatic. It's a more European-based map. We're working on a night mode as well. There's been a lot of requests for night mode. I want to be careful with night mode because I've seen it in other games and people don't like it, but what they've shown me internally is like almost like a cinematic night. So it's dark, but it's not pitch black. So you can still see stuff, but it just has that feeling of nighttime. And we want to keep doing this going forward, like looking at new ways to expand the experience.
One way that would expand the experience for Shaq News would be if we could get a Shaq News shirt in the game. Do you think that's in the realm of possibility?
So, I mean, maybe someday, but we really want to be careful about adding too many kind of brands into the game because I feel it kind of breaks immersion, and, we want to kind of keep it, the feel we have at the moment, which is kind of realistic and cinematic realism.
So you don't want like Monster Energy drinks and like Mickey Mouse hats or anything rolling around just yet?
No, exactly. I mean, if we put a Mickey Mouse hat in, I think Disney might have a word.
Right on. So, no, congratulations on your success. I think it's really cool that you're a very small team and it's gone from an early access title to the largest game on Steam. Like, you talk about how early access has helped in this whole process and how it's built a community around you guys, and almost between that and Twitch and the games community in general, how they're all kind of rallying around you guys.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a really strong community, like ever since almost like DayZ Battle Royale. The Battle Royale community, be it from Arma 3 or H1 and now Battlegrounds, they love the game mode. They're really passionate and they're very vocal about what they like and what they don't like. And that's proven invaluable to development because, it really gives us like real player feedback. Which will only make the game better. And not all the feedback we can action, but we really try to figure out what the majority of people want from a game, and we try to do it.
Yeah, it's really refreshing. You mentioned earlier to hear that this is going to be a game that's as a service, and it's going to go. You're talking about 5-year roadmap. So there's no plan of a Battlegrounds 2.
No. I mean, the way I look at it is like the game you see now, look at like CS 1.6, and then in like 15 years, we'll have CSGO, and then like the improvement from there to there. And that's the way I like to look at with Battlegrounds, is that like the game now compared to the game in 5 years are going to be like completely different. And well, not completely different, the same game, but just looking and feeling, even better than it is today. And
it's a break from the AAA philosophy these days, because every year, not throwing shade at COD, but we get a COD every year. We get a Battlefield every other year, and I feel like there's a sequelitis that occurs. Whereas you see, I just interviewed the Rocket League guys a few weeks ago at PAX, and they were like, yeah, we're not going to do a Rocket League 2. We're just going to keep making Rocket League great. And it's refreshing to see indie devs say that. I think it's a difference in profit motive, but it's also maybe because you guys aren't publicly traded, there's not someone over your head saying that.
It could be. I mean, I just finished an interview where we were talking about like how some of the more successful games in the last 10 years have come from mods. Dota, CSGO, like almost Rocket League, and all these, they came from like mods basically. And I think it kind of it shows the difference that like with the bigger companies, you have almost like higher ups kind of going, well, we need this or we need this. Whereas with a mod, you get to do what you love. There's no kind of, you don't have to answer to anyone. You just get to make the game that you want to make. And, in my case, I wanted a game to play. And people loved it. And I think it was the same with CSGO and the same with Dota, that people just fell in love with someone's idea. And I think that, yeah, it speaks a lot about like the power of modding.
I think it also speaks to your motivation. You just said it. It's something that Steve Jobs said. If you're not doing something you love, you're not going to do a great job. Clearly, you love Battlegrounds.
Oh yeah, I mean, I spend 10 to 12 hour days in the office, and I do it because I love doing it. It's like I don't feel like it's work. I'm getting to make a game. I'm getting to make something that I love, and and that's so important to me. It's like all through my life, I've never really stayed in a job that I didn't love doing, and sometimes to my detriment. But but you know, with this, I'm getting to do honestly something I love to do, and you know, the opportunities that Bluehole have given me, you know, it's a once in a lifetime thing. So you know, there's a large part of me that really doesn't want to fuck it up.
Well, congratulations again. Like I told you before the interview, we have a little motto here at Shack News. It's called "Do It for Shack News." Can you look at the camera and tell everyone to do it for Shack News?
Do it for Shack News.
Oh yeah. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Oh, thank you, man.